Hey, I'm Father Roderick and welcome back to my channel. We need to talk in depth about the trailer for Moon Knight. I posted my first reaction on this channel before, but now that I've rewatched the trailer multiple times, I think it is just genius. It blows me away. And I was very surprised that there is actually a lot of religious imagery, small details with great symbolic meaning, and a clear structure that follows our hero's journey and reveals the fundamental stakes of the story. I want to go with you through the trailer and show you what I've discovered, and it's a lot. At the end of the video, I want to zoom in on a central religious contrast that I think may be the heart of the series. And I will share with you a serious concern that I have, and that pertains to the main character played by Oscar Isaac. I wonder if you share my concern. So stay with me until the end. The trailer itself can be divided in 5 parts that each serve a different purpose in the story it tries to tell. Part 1. The central puzzle. The scenes of Mark suffering from sleeplessness tell us that his story starts with a puzzle, an inner struggle that our main character is unable to solve by himself. The different colors of the Rubik's Cube symbolize his fragmented mind. It is split up into different personas, and he is suffering from an affliction called dissociative identity disorder. Severe and prolonged trauma can cause this dissociation, where the brain creates multiple personalities that each deal with parts of the experienced trauma in an attempt to keep things under control. But it's no longer working for Mark. He is unable to separate reality from dreams anymore, and he locks himself up and chains himself to the bed for fear that he will harm himself or others if a suppressed part of himself takes the lead. It also symbolizes him being bound by the traumas of his past, not unlike the character of Boba Fett is struggling with his past in the book of Boba Fett. Check out my commentary on this series elsewhere on this YouTube channel. The inner struggle also has a broader relevance to the story. The world is caught in a constant battle between darkness and light. This battle needs a hero who is called to bring light, symbolized by the wake-up call of the alarm and the bright sunlight the next morning. But our hero is still tied to his bed and also tied to the darkness of the night, and so he can't yet answer the call. There are a few striking details in this scene that you may have missed, but that are very important and meaningful. First of all, his bed is surrounded by lots of chaotic bookshelves full of brightly colored books. And of course, this myriad of books reflect his inner chaos, his inner disorder. His bed is also, if you look closely, surrounded by a barrier of sand, a circle of sand, perhaps symbolizing the Egyptian world that is waiting for him as soon as he's able to free himself of his bed. And then on the right, we see the cover of a book that shows us the moon. And then there's the word soul written above it. I think this means that Mark is trying to find his soul. Part 2. The calling of the hero. The second part of the trailer explains why our main character speaks with a British accent. He lives in London. He's probably late for work, he's out of control, we see him run to catch a bus, and he steps at one point into the reflection of a puddle of water. This is very meaningful. This is not there by accident. It symbolizes his own difficulty to see clearly who he is when he looks into the mirror. That is why we hear him say at the same time, "I think I'm losing it." Now, the banners on the museum give us a second hint at this Egyptian culture that is about to invade his life. His co-worker, Anna, calls him bloody useless, confirming that our future hero is still a nobody at this point, who is yet to receive his call to adventure, his purpose in life. The confusion about his name and the name tag he puts on are another reference to his personality disorder. Now, back home, he sees a sudden glimpse in the darkness of the Moon Knight, looking back at him in the mirror. He quickly switches on the light, and then he sees it's just him. This is very significant. This quickly switching on the light when he's confronted by his future self is part 3, the refusal of the call. This symbolism of dark followed by light and this theme of the calling of the hero is then repeated in the next scene, a dark hallway, and in a flash of light, we see the first Egyptian god approach him, Khonshu, god of the moon, symbolized by the moon crest on his staff. And the first reaction by Mark or Steve is flight, escape, find the exit, close the doors of the elevator. This is the symbol of the classic refusal of the call by the hero. But at that moment, we hear the second wake-up call in this trailer. This time, it's not his morning alarm, it's the elevator bell. The menacing moon god all of a sudden has turned into a kind old lady who thanks him. Again, this is meaningful. When he tells her that he's looking for a contact lens, a symbol of him trying to get clarity about his identity and maybe about his future, she tells him that she hopes he will find it. In other words, the god of the moon hopes that he will recognize the call to adventure and find his role as a hero. Next, we see him walking through the museum at night, approaching the darkness. That's a symbol of the unknown future ahead of him. And we see statues of Egyptian gods in the background, and a glimpse of a mummy on the floor. And here too, the question is, what will he do? Will he walk away? Will he refuse the call, like he does in the foreground? Or will he stay? Will he embrace this Egyptian future, whatever it may be, like the reflections of him in the glass do? They stay behind when he walks away. And this is followed immediately by a third wake-up call. And it is literally the sound of a phone call. In a pyramid-shaped opening, he finds an old flip phone and a key, symbolizing, on the one hand, another call of the hero and the key with which he has to unlock his own future. Now, the old flip phone may symbolize his past, but there's an interesting image when he flips it open. It's the image of a crocodile, and that could refer to a second Egyptian god that is introduced here, or at least alluded to. It is Sobek, the god of the water, the god of life growing near the river the Nile. And another fun detail, the UK telephone provider is called O2, oxygen. Fresh air awaits him if he answers the call. The person on the other end of the line asks the same question again. What is wrong with you? Who are you? Steve or Mark or someone else? Are you a nobody? Are you a hero? Are you a foe? Like Neo in The Matrix, Mark finally wants to answer the call, but the question is, who is going to be his Morpheus? Part 4. The reveal of the evil one. It is clear that Mark cannot save himself from his broken state. He needs a savior. And this savior is now introduced in the form of a Jesus-like religious guru, Arthur Harrow, played by Ethan Hawke. In contrast with this multicolored mental state of Mark, he wears a simple unicolor robe. He even carries the name of a knight, Arthur. But is it a good knight? The people around him seem to think so, because they try to touch him just like the crowds try to touch Jesus in the gospel. They even bow down in front of him, and he is standing there straight in the bright light of the sun, like the Egyptian god of the sun, Ra. Another reminder that this story is about darkness versus light, the moon versus the sun. And then we hear him speak to Mark directly, seemingly offering Mark a way out, a solution to his troubled state. And while we see Mark in his frustration destroy another pyramid-shaped mirror this time, his soothing voice tells Mark to give up on trying to heal, and instead to embrace the chaos. In short flashbacks, we get a glimpse of the severity of Mark's trauma as a former Marine or soldier. We see him switching personalities in and out of a controlled truck with broken glass. All symbolic, of course. Truck out of control, no control over your life. Broken glass, broken life. And he's holding a gun, but he's utterly confused. He doesn't know what to do with it. And this is followed by a fall into an abyss. This is the symbol of Mark's greatest fear, to fall into the endless depths that separate the fragments of his splintered mind, to be lost. What will he do? Will he follow the tempting voice of Arthur Harrow, manipulating him via his greatest fear? Or will he choose a different path? This is revealed in Part 5, The Emergence of the Hero. We see pyramids, and the sun is setting. Night falls. Mark is entering the darkness. He's running through a half-lit corridor. And the question is, again, is he running towards the light or is he running towards the darkness? What is there at the end of the tunnel? This mounting tension then leads to a moment of crisis. Mark has what looks like a seizure, and he seemingly looks up to the heavens for an answer. And then suddenly outside, he is being covered in bandages, a symbol of death and mummification, but it could also be a symbol of healing. And maybe it's both. The old Mark dies and a new hero rises. The Moon Knight. The next scene illustrates this rebirth. The symbolic black and white bathroom floor is covered in water. Water, the source of new life. Everything around him is broken and shattered, just like he used to be. Even the big mirror in the background is completely in pieces. But our hero is whole. He is fighting a creature that looks like Anubis, the god of the dead. It's a human body with a wolf-like head, very frightening. Or maybe it's not Anubis, but Anubis' brother, Wepwawet, because his robes are gray instead of black, like Anubis. And then as Mark turns towards the camera, we finally see him as the hero he has chosen to become, the Moon Knight. Not black or white, not multicolored like the puzzle, but clothed in a gray suit, somewhere between night and day, reflecting the light of the moon in his eyes and still operating in the darkness. And this is followed by a final, very powerful symbolic scene. With the moon in the background, our hero no longer falls to his death in the depths underneath him, like earlier on, but he's finally strong enough to jump over the chasm, jumping from his old life to his new destiny. And maybe it will also mean that he's finally able to overcome the fractures and the separations in his mind. I hope you agree with me that this trailer has so much deeper meaning hidden underneath the surface. And there is one overarching theme that strikes me because of its religious dimension and its central place in the story of this series. We've met a fractured hero facing a fractured God. Just as our hero tries to deal with his fractured mind and all these different personalities, history has also tried to deal with many cultures in which the divine was fractured and split up in many different gods, each having their own purpose, their own identity, often even in conflict with one another. And the big monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, propose a unified idea of the divine. One God who seeks to unify mankind in his love. But in those religions, this plan is crossed by Satan, by a seducer, by a liar. And he is presenting himself, not unlike Arthur Harrow in this trailer, as a carrier of the light. Literally the meaning of Lucifer, carrier of the light, but whose real goal it is to extinguish the light, to sow division, to break the bond between God and his people, and to shatter the relationships and friendships between people. And maybe the only hero who can truly successfully counteract this division and brokenness is the one who knows what it is to be broken by suffering and trauma. The one who had to die, but rises from death to be the eternal protector of the victims of darkness and division. And that is why I think that the story isn't just about Egyptian polytheism, multiple gods, but it also reflects this quest for unity, the desire to heal what was broken. And in the center of it all is this unlikely hero, this wounded servant, a Christ-like archetype who can only overcome brokenness because he knows what it is to be broken himself. And finally, this is why I have one serious concern. This brokenness of the hero of the story reflects a real affliction. Multiple personality disorder, or also called dissociative identity disorder, is a very grave consequence of severe and long-lasting trauma. It is an extreme survival mechanism that only occurs in extreme circumstances. Victims of abuse or violence, witnesses of traumatic events can suffer their entire life from this condition. I hope that the writers will be prudent with the way in which they handle this topic. I hope it's not just used as a narrative gimmick to create an interesting main character that is different from other superheroes. The fact that a talented actor like Oscar Isaac was in for this role makes me hope that his portrayal of the Moon Knight will be nuanced and respectful to those for who this mental disorder isn't just a bad dream or a fictional story with a happy ending. What do you think? Do you share my concern? Did this video help you discover more hidden meanings in this trailer? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. And join the community by subscribing. I will see you next time. I'm Father Roderick. Thanks for watching.